So Charlie says, only hands can wash hands. If you want to receive, you have to give. Something like that. I wish I could remember the exact words. Anyway, I think Charlie's telling us to just do it. Ha! What do you make of it?
Somehow I don't think Charlie Parker'd be quoting Goethe.
Come on, it's just a dream I had. Lighten up.
Beau Billingslea. How much do I love Beau? Beau walked in and just was Jet from Bell Peppers and Beef. I mean, it was just from one of his first lines, and Spike, and that was it. I mean, he hit it. He nailed it from day one. He was just amazing, and he really got to he just sat down into it. I mean, it's just one of those where there's all this exasperation going on of everything going wrong, and people on a ship that he doesn't want, and I loved the way he portrayed him. I think maybe just getting him to relax into it was nothing. It was just, he just sat back and he was Jet.
Well, Kevin Seymour really is responsible, I think, for me being cast in the show. And it's interesting because the first session with Mary Elizabeth, we were trying to figure out how did this guy sound? And we were playing with a Southern accent, because the Cowboy Bebop, we came with a Southern accent, talking like that, and maybe a little Western accent. And then she said, you know what? Let's use your voice. I said, well, that's boring. She said, no. Let's do that. And so she exerted her influence, and luckily for me and for all of us, she prevailed, and she was really right. And of course, it's a lot easier to just emote and be a character and experience a character's life when you're not concerned about trying to do something that's not really you. And as it turned out, Jet's a lot of me.
Back then, when I got home from work, you were always there waiting for me. And that was all I needed. Just you. But on that day, when I came back home, the only thing there was that pocket watch. That and a small piece of paper that had just one word written across it, farewell.
Yeah, at first I didn't really see his vulnerability. And as actors, for me, at least, that's one of the things I look for. Primarily because I portray on camera and I voice macho guys who are, just straightforward and, not afraid of anything and all of that. And so that if I can find some vulnerability, I really latch onto that. But that's the way Jet was written. And early on, when I started to see that, I just loved it.
I wanted to live my own life, make my own decisions, even if they were terrible mistakes.
The twist on that is really interesting, that who was at fault and what was wrong, and then her dialogue kind of related what her problem was, that he was this dominant force in her life, that she wasn't able to make decisions. He made decisions for her. And she said, they were all right, but you made them. It wasn't me. I wasn't living my own life. And I think that is something, that a strain that runs through humanity, that, you have a dominant member of a couple who kind of takes over and takes care of the other person, and thinking that he or she is doing the good thing, which they are in their heart, taking care of that other person, but not realizing that they're actually maybe stifling or suffocating that person. And that was a nice lesson of life, in addition to giving the situation a nice twist. And then when he throws the broken watch into the sea, it's like, okay, that chapter of my life is over. And but I just thought that was exquisite to have that episode where he could go back in his past, and we could see him in a heart-wrenching situation, and with an old girlfriend that actually he still loves her in a way, even though she's with somebody else, and wishing her the best and moving on with his life. I think that was terrific.
I don't think you'll be waiting very long. because time never stands still, you know?
One of my favorite moments is when there's a scene in, I think it's episode 22, it's the Teddy Bomber episode, which was airing, interestingly enough, it was scheduled to air about a month after 9/11. And when those two towers come down in the show, Cartoon Network didn't air it for a while. They delayed the airing of that. Rightly so, I think. It was still very fresh in everyone's mind. But at any rate, there's a party scene in that episode. It's a masquerade party, or a costume party, and Jet came in, and I don't know if he had an afro or something, but he had a shirt on, I think with a peace sign on it, and he put up his hands, and it was either peace or a pot sign, and he put his hands up and he said, you know, the line was, "My man," and Beau was just like, "My man," and I still say that to him today. Beau walks in and I'm like, "My man." I mean, it was like, that was Jet, and it was just such a great character, too. I mean, it was so complex and complicated, this sort of exasperated father figure to these people, but then this guy that's been through all of his own stuff and losing his arm, and the man who has the kind of patience to sit around and work on a bonsai, you know? I mean, just the delicacy of that with this huge, you know, giant man, and he just sits there and he trims his bonsai, you know, and always looking to be centered in peace, and he's just in a world that does not cater to that at all, you know, especially with the people that he surrounded himself with.
You said bell peppers and beef.
His name's Asimov Solensen. Are you listening to me?
There's no beef in here. So you wouldn't really call it bell peppers and beef, now would you?
Yes, I would.
Mary Elizabeth was good that way, because she would let us hear. She would let us hear what preceded us, you know, just to get a feel for it, which I thought was very, very clever. I mean, we can get the job done by looking at the line that was ahead of us, because we're in the studio alone. I mean, we're in the booth alone. And to say, okay, well, Spike just said this, but it makes a difference if you actually hear him say it. And, you know, she didn't do it a lot, but she did it enough for you to get the feel for this guy that you're talking to, or to Fei, you know. And of course, because we weren't in the booth alone, we would leave notes for each other, you know, in the script. You know, like if Steve-O would go in before me, he would leave a note. He'd say, "Hey, Jet, don't screw it up." You know? I said, "Okay, all right, I'll do my best not to screw it up." But that was the way that we would, which was kind of an interesting little gambit that went on when we were working, the little side notes in the script to each other.
Beau's a good buddy. I mean, to this day, we still harass each other, and we don't get to see each other enough. We see each other usually at conventions out of town. But that camaraderie, and it's so interesting on a show like this that they handpicked us for the voices, but the personalities really did blend and work perfectly together. And to this day, we're all still very close. Everybody on the cast is close. And we feel like a family, and I think we would have felt that way no matter what show it was. There's just that chemistry, and that's that kind of alchemic combination that is so rare, and one of the great things that made this show stand out, I think, as a dub, when dubs weren't acceptable. But Beau he just makes me laugh. Every time I think about him, he just makes me laugh. We just have a great time together. We laugh a lot. He tried to teach me how to golf once, and I was doing it like baseball, and he was still kind and gentle and hilarious. And yeah, I just wish I could see more of him.
I remember being blown away, like, whoa, this is quite a voice. I mean, he has such great texture, yet he's cool, yet he's father, and he's great. And you know, I only met Beau in recent years. I mean, really, in the last couple of years. We never met during that whole process. But, you know, maybe we met at the premiere of the movie so many years ago, but then since then I had not seen him. So in the last couple of years, I've actually had conversations with him, like just Melissa and Beau, and he's the greatest guy. He's the greatest guy, and he's a dad, and you know, he's He's wonderful.
So incredible working with Beau, and I love him so much. We recently were able to do our first convention together as a foursome and travel together and spend a lot of time with each other, and it was so much fun. And we're hoping we can do more of that in the future. And I realized that I had never really told Beau how much I admired his work in the show and how much I loved him in the role. And really, as I keep telling everyone, I just can't imagine anyone else playing that part. He's the perfect Jet.
That type of macho guy who's not so macho, and you get a peek into his soul, that he's really vulnerable and he needs people. I mean, he's needy. He needs his crew. I mean, he needs his crew. He needs Fei and he needs Spiko and Ein and Ed and that's his family. That's his family. And I have a friend back in Connecticut who, he's one of these guys. He's an ex-law enforcement. And he's one of these guys. He just has to complain about everything, even when he loves it. And we were taking this little crew. They were having a local fair.
That's it. You've really gone too far. Then don't come back. There won't be a place for you.
That's your call, pal. Anyway, at least you won't be lonely now. Not with your weird roommates.
My roommates? That's why you've been staying here? You're being stupid.
Yeah, well, we thought of ourselves as really great bounty hunters. We thought we were going to make a great living at it, and it just didn't seem to work out that way. Part of the problem is Faye, because she's constantly stealing it and gambling it away. So it's not entirely our fault.
Jet, do you know that there are 3 things that I particularly hate?
Really?
Kids, animals, and women with attitudes.
Oh.
So tell me, Jet, why do we have all 3 of them neatly gathered in our ship?
Ed loves Yokos.
And once again, we get no bounty.
Hey, Val.